You are listening to the Coins, Currency, and American History podcast, presented by Littleton Coin Company.
Every great civilization leaves behind its ruins, its art, and its heroes. But the story of America can be told through something smaller, something we can hold in our hands. A coin. Coins are the fingerprints of a nation. This is the story of the United States of America. From colonies to social experiment to global economic leader.
Episode 20, Fractional Currency and a New Financial System. The guns had fallen silent at Appomattox, but the financial landscape of America looked nothing like it had before the war. Reconstruction was bringing the southern states back into the Union, yet the economy they rejoined had been remade in their absence. What had once been a patchwork of local banknotes and metal coins was giving way to a more centralized system powered by federal paper money. And right in the middle of that shift sat one of the most practical and now collectible innovations in our numismatic history: fractional currency. Before the Civil War, everyday money in America still relied heavily on gold and silver coins. Banknotes circulated too, but their value rose and fell with the reputation of the issuing bank. Paper was more of a promise than money itself. Then the war hit. People hoarded coins for their metal content, and small change practically disappeared from circulation. The Union needed a way to keep trade moving, so the Treasury, led by Treasurer Francis E. Spinner, stepped in. Congress first authorized postage stamps affixed to paper as a stopgap, but that created its own shortages. So in 1862, they moved to official notes. These first pieces, known as postage currency, came in 5, 10, 25, and 50-cent denominations. They actually pictured real postage stamps right on the face, such as George Washington on the 10-cent note. Initially, the notes were printed partly by private firms, like the American Banknote Company, before the Bureau of Engraving and Printing took over more of the work. These were not the currency notes of today. They were small, fragile, and as thin as a bandage, and so they earned the nickname shin plasters. By 1863, Congress authorized true fractional currency. Over the next dozen years, 5 separate issues appeared, covering everything from a tiny 3-cent note up to 50-cent notes worth half a dollar. In all, nearly $369 million worth of these fractional currency notes entered circulation, an enormous sum for the time. Designs of the early ones were simple, but they improved with each series. Later issues featured portraits of founding fathers, Treasury officials like Spencer Clark on the 5-cent note, which caused quite a stir at the time, as well as patriotic vignettes such as Justice or Columbia. To fight counterfeiting, the backs of the notes came in different colors: red, green, purple, and starting with the second issue, the notes carried official signatures and seals. Today, many collectors find building typesets a rewarding pursuit, chasing examples from each major design across the 5 issues. The evolution of fractional currency notes shows the Bureau of Engraving and Printing finding its footing in those early years, from hand printing them in the Treasury Building's attic to efficiently producing them with growing sophistication. Today, many survive in surprising condition. And holding one lets you feel a direct link to a nation scrambling to keep its pockets filled with usable money while fighting for its survival. When the South laid down its arms, it stepped back into a country where paper had become the everyday medium of exchange. Confederate notes were worthless, local banks had collapsed, the old cotton credit networks were gone. National banknotes authorized under the National Banking Acts of 1863 and 1864 began flowing southward. These uniform notes, backed by U.S. bonds and issued by federally chartered banks, helped standardize transactions from coast to coast for the first time. They didn't magically fix the South's deeper economic troubles. Sharecropping, crop liens, and merchant credit still dominated, but they made daily buying and selling a little more reliable. Fractional notes played a quiet but vital role here too, filling the gap left by missing coins and helping both freedmen and small farmers handle the small transactions that kept life moving. Imagine trying to buy a loaf of bread or a newspaper when you had nothing smaller than a dollar bill or a scarce silver coin. Fractional currency solved that headache. People used the notes for postage, streetcar fares, bar tabs, even weekly wages. Over time, Americans grew comfortable treating paper as real money, not just a stand-in for metal. That mental shift mattered. Factories could meet payroll more easily, railroads could collect uniform fares, stores could make exact change without frustration. These small notes helped grease the wheels of the growing industrial economy in a very practical way. Of course, not everyone welcomed the change the same way. In the industrial North, paper money fit neatly into a world of wages, banks, and large-scale credit. It supported speed and expansion. In the agricultural South, the new system standardized exchange, but it didn't erase the realities of a debt-based crop economy. Money still flowed more through merchants and creditors than through industry. Out west, settlers and miners saw both opportunity and frustration. They welcomed more liquidity, but many pushed hard for policies that would expand the money supply, especially through silver. A single national currency unified the mechanics of trade, yet it couldn't unify the very different economic interests pulling at the country. With the fighting over and the economy slowly stabilizing, an old argument resurfaced. Should the greenbacks issued during the Civil War stay in circulation, or be retired and redeemed in gold? Hard money supporters, often bankers and industrialists, insisted paper must return to a specie basis. Soft money advocates, including many farmers and miners, argued that expanding credit was essential for growth. The debate split along familiar regional lines. Congress passed the Resumption Act in 1875, scheduling the redemption of greenbacks for gold beginning in 1879. But, surprisingly, when the day came, the public didn't rush to swap their notes. Confidence had taken root, Americans kept using the paper, and the system held. Right in the middle of these monetary discussions came another pivotal piece of legislation at the U.S. Mint. The Coinage Act of 1873 was a broad revision of mint laws. Among its provisions, it dropped the standard silver dollar from the list of coins authorized for regular minting. At the time, the change seemed technical. Silver hadn't been flowing freely into the mint for years anyway because of the California gold rush and wartime disruptions. But as Western silver production surged in the years that followed, the decision drew fierce criticism. Silver interests called it the crime of 1873, arguing it contracted the money supply and favored creditors over debtors. Farmers and miners in the South and West saw it as another example of Eastern financial dominance. Supporters viewed it as a step toward monetary discipline and a de facto gold standard. The act didn't instantly end silver's role in the American economy. Minting and circulation of trade dollars and smaller fractional silver coins continued. But it became a flashpoint that shaped political battles for the rest of the century, including later efforts to restore silver coinage. And the fractional currency notes that had helped overcome coinage shortages during the war were eventually redeemed for those smaller silver coins once hoarding slowed and minting resumed on a steadier footing. By the close of Reconstruction, the United States had become a nation where paper handled daily life while the country gradually moved back toward gold convertibility. Fractional currency had normalized small transactions, greenbacks had funded the war, national banknotes had brought uniformity, and the groundwork was laid for greater confidence in the overall system. That monetary foundation helped fuel industrialization, continental expansion, and America's growing place in the world. Reconstruction reunited the states on paper, and the new currency system helped reunite the economy. The South returned to a union whose financial rules had been written without its input and whose future leaned more toward industrial capital than King Cotton. The Civil War had changed the meaning of sovereignty, while the new financial system arrangements quietly changed the everyday meaning of value itself. Reconstruction may have reconnected the country financially, but it did not heal the deeper psychological divide. The South came back to a union with new money, new laws, and new centers of power it had not chosen. Next time on Coins, Currency, and American History, the lost cause of the Reconstruction South. We hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Coins, Currency, and American History podcast presented by Littleton Coin Company. You can find out more about coins and currency in our free Learn Center at www.littletoncoin.com/learn. It's filled with fascinating facts about U.S. coins, world coins, ancient coins, paper money, and more, as well as helpful tips for collectors of all levels. You'll even find free collector guides, checklists, and virtual albums to help you get started and keep track of your growing collection. And while you're there, be sure to check out our online store. Visit www.littletoncoin.com today.